Like, oh, this movie's so bad! This movie's so bad! This is how they train to play video games! They don't play the video game. Instead, Ruby Rose is like, you're gonna have like rubber bands to train your fingers! You make a movie that is clearly supposed to be woke and this stuff is all right. And then the movie is actually anti-woke because, yeah, like the female characters, not only as, I don't know repetitive, but not only as, again, dislikable characters, right, which is very common for these movies, but then the other ones are insane, right? Because imagine that, you know, shouldn't the movie be more like, girls can play games too, and, you know, girls can play games, girls, just like guys can play games, and there's no difference if you're a man or a woman or trans. It doesn't matter, right? If you play Bridget, and you have a dick or you have a vagina or you have both or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? In every game it's a chromosome. You get my point. But these movies that really constantly pushes that, no. If you play games and you're a girl, are you a sociopath? One Up. The worst gamer esport movie ever. This is like the level. Oh, it's so bad. So hello everyone, Myrmonden here. I want to do a review today about a new movie about a girl playing esport, right? I mean, you can hear that. And it's made by Buzzfeed, okay? It's Buzzfeed. It is super woke, of course. It is it's like GamerGate. And it's hated by Anita Sarkassian and the other, you know, that should like the movie, right? But no, they hate this movie. So you know this has to be a crappy movie, right? But seriously, if you don't know who I am, right? Very quick recap. This is why I made this review as well, right? Because I have worked in the game industry for about, like, I don't know, 15 years now, 10 years, whatever. At least 10 years, right? And obviously, I play a lot of esport, right? And I've been playing Street Fighter, StarCraft, whatever, right? So this movie, I feel, really comes into lots of I know, right? Because this movie is incredibly bad. Incredibly bad. But I also have done lectures at school, at university, at college, and so on, right? I have written some papers, and I've, you know, done some education too. So I think this movie really speaks to me in how insanely bad it is, right? Because the girl goes to basically wants to be a game developer, right? And they're gonna have this like professor, and she's gonna be playing Ruby Rose. Nothing of Ruby Rose characters makes any sense, right? And so on. And how they train for the esports and everything, it literally makes no. This is one of the worst movies ever. This probably is the worst. This is the worst game movie ever. Even without all the woke stuff, you know. Even ignoring all that stuff. Everything how they represent how to play a video game or how to improve in a video game. All of that stuff is utter garbage, right? And just the essential thing alone, I'll explain that more in detail, but the essential thing alone is that, like, they go to a professor, right? And let's say the professor, basically it's like Sid Meier's, right? The person behind the Civilization. And she's like, you made my favorite game when I was a kid, like, you know, Civ then. Could you please train us in, like, Dota or something? Or they play LoL, I guess. Smite can be, yeah. But whatever, a mobile game. That's kind of honestly how the story is. The Ruby Rose character is a former game developer that worked on a completely other genre. And she hasn't played games for, like, you know, whatever, right? And he's like, can you please train us in another genre that you never worked in? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it's just like from a little logical standpoint. Nothing makes sense in this movie. And yes, the bad guys' name are the Betas. These are the literal bad guys, and they're the Betas team. That alone, you know, like, what? I mean, these are obviously the douchey bad guys, right? It's supposed to be bad guys, but like, why would? There is no way in hell, right, that these like obviously evil men that play video games, right? That they would call themselves the Betas, right? You know. They wouldn't call their team, the professional esport team, the Betas. They would call the Alphas, right? It's just a stupid thing that they had called me that. But anyway, let's review it. But yeah, seriously, they have the name the Betas. This is like, oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. So first, set the premise, right? I'm gonna go over the movie here, but again, mostly I feel from a game developer and game educator standpoint, right? That's why I really hate this movie, right? I don't want to go into, you know, how too much, you know, Anita Sarkassian and GamerGate and so on. Right? I want to discuss more how it's insanely bad it represents esport, right, and game development, and also, of course, like, you know, game schooling, I guess. So anyway, the main character then, right? V. Did they ever call her full name? Whatever. V is what they call her, right? She is on like a game scholarship, right? Like she's this super professional, you know, best player in the world in LoL or something, right? You know, so she goes to college, right? Basically paid by that. Her college, for that matter, is named Barrett. So this video, like with all these other gaming movies, right, has a lot of references, and you know that I have to say as a positive in the movie. So the course called Barrett is obviously a reference to Final Fantasy 7, and there's a bunch of other references, you know, some things, Pac-Man or whatever, right? There's some arcade machines. So again, the movie isn't absolutely terrible. I think they have some cute references, but that's basically the only good thing in the movie. But anyway, she goes to this college then, Barrett, right? On a scholarship, right? She can't pay for it otherwise. And she's there on again then, being like a good esport player, right? And here immediately, nothing makes any sense in the movie, because, you know, she's terrible at the game. That's the first thing here. The logic of the movie is just shit, because literally, she's a terrible player. She's a really bad team player. That's like consistent through the whole movie. She's terrible at actually playing this multiplayer game, right? She never casts about team and so on. And she also never learns to do that. That's also a terrible thing from an actual narrative standpoint. The main character, V, never learns to trust her teammates or whatever. This is literally her issue in the whole movie, and she never improves it. So she's basically like a, you know, best player in LoL or whatever, right? But again, how many good players do you have in LoL that are like, I hate my teammates, I can never cooperate with them, you know what I mean? So that doesn't make much sense, right? And she is bad at the game, seriously. She really sucks at the game in the beginning of the game, right? And also, obviously, because it's gonna be vocal or whatever, right? And you know, this whole GamerGate thing. So she has to play support, right? You know, she's a girl. Girls play support, right? And that also, again, logically makes it, you know, makes less sense, right? Because if you know how this game works, like, say about a League of Legends, right? Because this game is very like there are very a lot of league terms. Oh, they're ganking me. I'm in the jungle. Or put some ward support and so on, right? So it's obviously mostly they're talking like they're playing League, Dota, or maybe Smite or whatever. The games are playing more like Smite, I suppose, but they have a lot of basically all the lingo is like League of Legends lingo, right? For everything. So the way she acts, right, is that she has zero trust for her teammates, right? And this is, again, in all her teams. Not only with the guys, also with the girls, and so on. Terrible in that sense, right? And then it's generally, how can you be like, oh, again, she's supposed to be, she's a girl, right? Supposed to be like the best support player, basically, right? Oh, she's the best NA support player, but she hates playing with team games. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So this shit really ruins the movie immediately, right? From like a logical standpoint. But anyway, but also it's terrible that she actually never even learns to improve it either. So it's a bad movie altogether, right, in that sense. But anyway, so she goes to college, right? And she plays in this team then, the Beatles, which is actually their team name, which is just terrible. And she gets angry at them because she's, I don't know, they don't listen to her or something when they play the game. But again, she's not a good team player. And they won the game, so it really makes no sense why she's so angry. And generally, and this is really a bad writing here because she's on the bench, right? She's one of the like the, you know, she's not in the start, not in the main 5 top players in the team, right? So if that was more in the focus, so easily here, right? That should have been the storyline. I say easily. She should have been like, oh, I'm the best DPS or whatever. Let me play jungle or something. Right? I'm better than this guy. No, you're a woman, you can't play or whatever. That would be much better if it was more focused on her actually being a better player, right? But not allowed to be a starter anyway. But instead, she is not a good, like, other class. She literally only plays support, apparently, up to this point. And she's like... So, it's logically, again, doesn't make much sense. But anyway, she leads the team, right? And here's the premise, again, is terrible written. This movie is insanely bad. Because... And this is why coming in from like an actual logical standpoint here, right? From like an actual college professor or whatever standpoint. She, by leaving their team, is gonna lose her scholarship, right? So now she has to go, you know, leave school. And that's what I mean, this is so stupid, because nothing in this movie makes any sense, right? Because if you actually go to a scholarship, right? On, say, a football scholarship or whatever, would you just be like, oh, screw you guys, I'm leaving the team because I hate you guys? No, you wouldn't do that, because you know you're gonna kicked out, right? So it's also a really weird movie, because she basically leaves the team. She's like, oh, you hate ladies or something, maybe. And she leaves the team, right? And then the next day she's like, oh wait, I'm gonna kick out from school now. Or something, yeah, like she didn't understand it. She was like, oh wait, I can't stay at school now because I don't have a team to play with, you know? It's so weird. And also for that matter, right, because an esport player, it also feels weird how she would be necessarily have to play with this team at the, or something. Could she play online? I don't know, it feels weird, the whole setting, right? But that's kind of the premise, and then basically, of course, she makes a team, you know, an all-girl team, right? And of course, beats them. But, oh, spoilers, yeah. And that's terrible too, because she has a boyfriend later, Oven, or whatever his name is, because that's weird spelling. And obviously, it would be a lot better if he actually used to join her team, right? That'd be much better, right? Instead of having like an all-girl team, because they do face other teams, and these teams have like mixed gender. So it's also kind of weird too. So let's talk about that, right? So I don't want to talk too much about the Vogue stuff in the movie, whatever. I actually want to focus more on the professors or on the bros later. But seriously though, that's very weird in the movie. The movie has a lot of Vogue stuff, right? It's a Buzzfeed movie again, right? And obviously it's like GamerGate or evil or whatever. But there's also a lot of weird stuff in the movie. You're like, wait, is this movie actually pro GamerGate? And again, right, like again, Anita Sarkassian and so on, right, they are actually, they dislike this movie. And also I can see why, because they have this really weird thing in the movie where you're like, is it actually like pro-GamerGate? You wonder, seriously, you're like, wait, that thing's weird. So first of all, this professor is in the movie, and he's basically the funniest character in the movie, and he's like, I don't know, again, I'm serious here, I don't talk too much, but is he like, is the movie actually pro-GamerGate? Because this guy is like being bullied by the main character, right? And he's like, oh, please don't get me canceled! Something. And he's basically, is like, I guess, a parody of the evergreen principle or whatever, right? But mostly he's come out as very sympathetic, and you're like, I feel sorry for this guy. And he's like, please, I just want to be, I don't understand your lingos. I'm just trying my best to be a nice person. Please don't get me fired. And he's actually, this guy actually made me laugh. He was definitely a fun part in the movie. But also, I just felt like, oh, so now the authors are writing it like, you know, the GamerGate is right or something. Like the movies, yeah, that the girls are cancelling and they're like, you know, hating on him and so on. So it was very confusing, honestly. Because of course the movie again is very, very woke, all men are evil, you know, yada yada, so alright, mostly. Then this guy appears, so you're like, wait, is the movie telling us now that the ladies are evil and they're lying and so on? So it's really weird, yeah, it's really weird. And then they have this, when they have to get the teammates, right, they're all a bunch of idiots, right, of course, which is terrible. I really dislike that in the movie, because it's gonna be a comedy, right? So they have this like really fat woman that led LARPing and so on, and she does like a really straight up R joke, how she got R'd, and she laughs about it, and you're like, what is this scene? That wasn't funny. It wasn't like, not a good R joke, and it was just weird how she laughs it off. Oh, I got R'd a few times, and you're like, what? And she's, yeah, laughs about it, and other girls are like, what's wrong with her? And then another girl is like a, I don't know, a sociopath, murderer or something. So the movie really shit in itself there, that they also have to introduce bunch of idiots, you know? Like, couldn't they just have like 5 norm, like just, you know, kind of casual girls playing the game? I'm not saying they don't have to have, you know, blonde hair and big boobs or whatever, but it honestly would be a lot better in the movie if, I think straight up, right, if the other teammates, not all of them, right, but I think some of them could have been more like a normal, oh, this person isn't, you know, a sociopathic murderer, you know what I mean? Like, couldn't this be like girls' game, you know? So instead, the movie really shits on girls to play games. I mean, I'm not making it up, right? I'm sure you've seen it. Honestly, the movie does a massive disservice to ladies or, you know, girl gamers or whatever, I don't know, trans people or whatever, seriously, because they're all a bunch of, in this movie, I mean, of course, not real people, but I mean, in this movie, like, every person is either, of course, it's always, like, dislikable. You know how it is, right? And it's very woke and cringe. Of course, the main character is incredibly dislikable, and he's a douchebag. Honestly, the main character, V, is a complete douchebag the whole movie. So, very, very common right for this woke. They can't write characters, and, yeah, the female main character is a complete douche all the time, and so on. But the other people are just a bunch of insane persons, right? And I really feel that this movie is arguably, again, than the worst movie I've ever seen when it comes to gaming, right? Because even the message, right? Buzzfeed's obviously, like, you know, anti-GamerGate, and they want to be like, you know, pro-feminism and all this stuff, right? Which of course it can be, right? But the movie is like anti-feminism, right? The movie's anti-gamer girl. It really is. Like, if you're like, you know, I'm a gamer, I'm a girl, whatever, you should hate this movie because they get these people, right? And the girl in the wheelchair, she's a girl in the wheelchair, right? She's kind of like a normal person in a wheelchair. She's like a streamer and makes money on Patreon or whatever. But sure, she's like a girl in a wheelchair, right? She kind of seems to be like a normal person. But these two girls, the other two girls recruit, are just like lunatics, right? The fat one is the one that keeps joking about getting art and so on, and she like licks stuff, and I don't know, she's like, I don't know, into BDSM or something, right? Or mashist or something, right? And the other girl is like seriously a deranged sociopath. Like, she stabs this doll in the back, she wants to burn stuff, it's just she wants, so Ruby Rose is running here to stop her. She's gonna burn her and the doll or something. She's gonna burn the building or something, right? Like, she has this thing where she keeps talking about, oh, I saw this thing, and then it keeps, so, yeah, that girl is like some kind of pyromaniac sociopath. I'm not making this up, right? He's like a straight up insane person. And the other woman is also basically insane. They're insane in different ways. And it really makes the movie, as I mentioned, a massive disservice, right? I don't want to talk too much about this woke stuff, but it is interesting me from like a psychological standpoint, how you make a movie that is clearly supposed to be woke and this stuff and so on, right? And then the movie is actually anti-woke, because, yeah, like, the female characters, not only as, I don't know repetitive, but not only as, again, dislikable characters, right, which is very common for these movies, but then the other ones are insane, right? Because imagine that, you know, shouldn't the movie be more like, girls can play games too, and you know, girls can play games, girls, just like guys can play games, and there's no difference if you're a man or a woman or trans or whatever, or non-binary, or you cannot play video games, and, you know, everyone can, you know, play video games on equal level. There's no difference between genders or so on, right, or whatever, sex or whatever, doesn't matter, because you play in the game. If you play like Street Fighter, right, you know, I love Street Fighter and Guilty Gear or whatever, so on, and if you play these games, right, it doesn't matter, right. If you play Bridget, and you have a dick, or you have a vagina, or you have both, or whatever, doesn't matter, right? In every game, it's a chromosome. You get my point. But this movie instead really constantly pushes that, no. If you play games, and you're a girl, you're a sociopath. Or if you play games, and or you're a fatso that likes to get hard, yeah. Or, you know, you're a woman that goes around, gets drunk, and then you, I don't know, you go and get gang-banged or whatever, right? And you enjoy it or something. Right? It's like it seems to be written by, you know, Buzzfeed people, right? They never play video games, and then they actually hate girls that play video games, right? So it is very strange, and I feel it's very anti-feminism in the movies, actually, which I find, you know, again then very weird, strange, whatever you call it, right? Because you would expect Buzzfeed to be like, oh, we're pro that, but no. This movie because it makes every female character comes off as an insane person, right? More or less. Where the guys are just kind of douchey, but they're just douches, right? That's all the men in the movie are actually like better, more likable, right? Ruby Rose's character is actually pretty decent though. Her son, Ruby Rose is like the only female character where she plays the professor, which is like feels like a normal person, right? The only woman that feels like a normal, functional human being, right? And all of the men are so terrible. But again, the men are mostly douchebags. They're like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass in the game, you know. And the women are like, oh, I'm gonna kill you in your sleep. That's basically kind of, yeah, she spits on them, and they're basically, the women are way worse than them. And this, of course, I see when they get doxxed, typically, right? But it's never portrayed that it's the betas or the other teammates that dox them. Maybe it is, but also you could imagine it's being like some trolls on the internet that hates them because they're playing this, you know, tournament or whatever. It's never, yeah, it's terrible writings. They really explain who doxed them. I would say it wasn't really hinted to it, but you know what I mean? Yeah, like the male players should seriously probably be worse douchebags in the movie, and so on. But of course, the movie still has all these weird cringe scenes, right? For example, in the beginning of the movie, Ruby Rose and her character talks about video game history, right? And talks about, of course, Lara Croft Tomb Raider. And then a guy's like, boobs! He screams boobs. It doesn't make any sense. You're like, why would you do it, right? Like, who would sit there in a, you'd be thrown out, you know? Maybe not school, but it's class, right? Yeah. Who would just be like, ah, do this! You know, in the middle of the class with your classmates. It's not funny, and no one ever asked that, right? That's why the writing is so bad, too, because if you're gonna portray the man as evil, right? But a normal college like class is just gonna have a guy sitting there screaming boobs for 10 minutes. It doesn't make any sense. He would be, you know, laughed out, and everyone would hate him at college, right? It's never gonna happen. Like the whole campus, everyone's gonna hate him if it happens, right? So those things happen in the movie, and it's very strange, right? But otherwise, it's just basically girls look stupid or deranged something. Like it really comes off as all the female characters are lunatics, like seriously. And again, then it's very important that just really understand it, right? From a typical woke standpoint, whatever, right? That V, the main character, is so dislikable. And she never learns, as I mentioned earlier, right? It's barely important in the movie, but she never learns. She never a team player. She always plays by herself, right? She never listens to her teammates, either in the man or the girl team, or her professor. She never listens to anyone, basically. And she never improves from that point, or not ever, right? And she's just like a dislikable non-character, right? And everyone hates her. And her teammates dislikes her too, basically, yeah. So it's just like a weird thing, too. You're like, because she's, you know, supposed to be like the normal girl, you know, blonde, big boobs or whatever, right? They're supposed to be the pretty, you know, attractive girl that played games, right? The rest of them are, you know, crazy people, right? But she's supposed to be the normal person. But instead she's like, yeah, the most douchebag, narcissistic, you know, bastard, right? So all of them come off as like completely dislikable females, you know, whatever, that would never have a boyfriend, they would never play games or whatever. Yeah, they're only playing video games because no one ever liked them or something, right? It's just so weird. So it comes off as, unfortunately, like, typically that the authors probably hate gamers in general, right? So they're like, well, if you're a woman and play video games, you're an idiot. That's kind of how they say it. But anyways, yeah, so the movie is seriously like anti-woke or anti-female. Yeah, it's anti-woman. It's really weird. But okay, let's talk about Ruby Rose's character, game development and so on, right? Because again, you know, I'm a game developer. I worked on many games, and I played a lot of games, right? And her storyline makes no sense, right? So let me explain what I mean here, and this is truth, right, okay? I worked on a couple of game companies, many of them, and honestly, most people I work with are sucks at the games, okay? They suck. They really do. So I worked on one video game. No one ever beat me in that game. Ever. Also outside the game company too, but seriously. I never saw a single game when I played that game with my favorite characters or so on in the old studio that made the game. So I worked in this game for 2.5 years, right? And I was the creative director, you know, lead game designer, whatever, right? The creative guy. And I also designed the characters, so on, right? And you know, I also implemented the mechanics of characters. And no one could ever beat me. And I literally mean it. I had a 100% win ratio in-house and also outside. But still in-house, right? For over 2 years. And this is all true. And so most developers I know are actually pretty meh, honestly, in their own games. Like they actually are. Now, of course, maybe Professor Ruby was actually the best gamer in their own games. It is potentially true. But anyway, that is the thing you have to really understand. That honestly, most game developers I know are not good at their actual games. And the people that usually are good though are of course the designers, right? Usually, yeah. The artists tend to not be that very good. I mean, obviously I'm generous now, but most artists I work with, right, are not very good at actual games. Most developers aren't either usually. Some developers might be really good. Developers tend to be better, right? Because they're kind of like good at... Like I worked with one developer, he's a very, very good fighting game player, right? He was a very, very good in Table Fighter and Street Fighter. He was one of the best players in the country in both his games. And he was incredibly good at doing the perfect combos and so on, right? Very, you know, kind of perfectly mastered the combos of every character and so on. He was very, very good at that. Very, very, you know, disciplined, right? So kind of, I guess, typically a developer thing. But most people I work with generally are pretty bad. So that's just, you know, when I see the scene, right, and like, you have to train us, Professor Ruby. And I'm just like, why? Why would she be good at this game, right? Why would she be good at a video game? She has never even played this game, right? So this, again, this is really, really terrible in the storyline. And it feels this is really stupid how, again, the authors probably never played video games in their life. Because it's portrayed as just because Ruby Rose used to be a gamer like 20 years ago, she's gonna be good at like League of Legends or something. But she never played these games, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. It's just like, I'm gonna go, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video, let's go and talk to like Sid Meier's. He's probably good at like League or something, because he made Civilization, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even the same genre, right? It is so far-fetched that she would be good at this stuff. And like I said, right, it is really important to understand, honestly, that most developers I know, artists, developers, whatever, so on, are not that good. And usually the game designers are the best ones, right? Because game designers, they want to play more and usually tend to play more games, right? When I come with that personality. Usually, of course I'm generalizing, but most designers are more into playing different genres and so on, right? Because they like to kind of explore different ideas and so on, right? So a little more of that. Obviously, again, generalizing, but just... So at least they did say that Ruby Rose used to be a game designer, right? But they never explained what she did though, because the difference between a combat game designer, balance designer, monetization designer, level designer and so on, right? Because most likely, right, a combat designer is more in that field, like a balance designer, are the people that are the best at the actual games, right? Because they play a lot of games, and they usually are, you know, competitively, like, you know, top-ranked esports players in their own games, because otherwise they wouldn't balance the game, right? And that's never explained, of course. Ruby Rose is said to be, oh, she was some kind of design like 30 years ago or something, 20 years ago, who knows, you know. So it's really, really lacking to like motivate why she would be good at games at all. And that being said, now she's been a professor for like, I don't know, 10, 20 years. So she stopped being a developer. So that's really motivated. And it's also, again, important to think about how she didn't even develop the same game as they're playing, right, you know. And she never played the game. So they should coach them. And everything with this is so stupid. And also, for that matter, no other team has a coach. They're all playing as professional team, right? From different schools or whatever. And I guess, I don't know really how they work in this play, but I think they are on the schools. But whatever, they don't have a team, they don't have a coach. The evil boy team, that beat us, doesn't have a coach. So that doesn't make any sense either. No one else has a coach or like training and so on. And for that matter, the girls should probably be more people, because the other teams seem to have, you know, like reserves, right, and so on. If someone's sick or whatever, right, they don't have it either. So that was never like a storyline that someone got sick in the tournament or something. So, because all the guys have a lot more players, but they don't have a coach anyway. So this is really weird, you know. Nothing makes sense, right? And let's talk about her actual training. Here goes the kicker, though. This is seriously the worst gaming movie ever, because these people are clearly never play video games. So, like... Oh, this movie's so bad! This movie's so bad! This is how they train to play video games. They don't play the video game. Instead, Ruby Rose is like, you're gonna have like rubber bands to train your fingers. Now you become esport pro or something. It is insane. This is insane. So half the movie is like a montage of training, right? And playing tournaments. And it's just terrible because they're doing this shit for like 10 minutes or whatever, total the movie. That's part of the movie. They're kind of like just hanging out. They're playing like Wii Sport or something, or they're playing Mario Party or something. I don't know. They're playing other game, nothing to do with the actual game, right? Ruby Rose is like, you're gonna train your team spirit by playing, I don't know, Mario Party or something. They probably never work. Yeah, probably like, you're gonna play Monopoly. That's gonna increase your team spirit, right? No, it probably will make everyone hate you even more, right? Yeah. So they go out and they do this stuff, right? And yeah, everything with the training is like the worst thing I've seen in my life. This movie has truly, these people that with the movie cannot have played video games. Right? You don't improve by doing like a rubber banding, right? If I want to improve my finger strength to play fighting games, right? I play more fighting games, train the actual finger, right? And this is objectively, of course, wrong because some of the fighting games, when you play your fingers here, right? Of course, you get more muscle and so on, right? And I can definitely feel that having playing fighting games for like 5 years, at least, right, on an arcade stick, that I have a very quick fingers and move the hand and so on, right? It's a lot of muscle memory, right? Muscle memory is very important to train. You play StarCraft or whatever, right? You have to train and be this thing in muscle memory and so on. So doing these things is stupid, right? Because it's much more important to train your finer motor skills, your dexterity, your muscle memory. So actually sitting with the keyboard or the stick or the controller or whatever, right? That's gonna improve your muscles, but it'll mostly improve your dexterity and again the muscle memory. So this really makes no sense. And Ruby Rose is supposed to be a professor, right? Like supposed to be an expert, right? And this is her training method. Completely garbage, right? Completely garbage. And then again, most of the scenes, they don't just play the game, they're just like, I don't know, they're like, yeah, they're like playing other video games, right? To become friends or something. Which again, as I mentioned, V hates everyone, right? So it doesn't even help them. She spends either doing dumb stuff like this or team building exercises, and they still have a terrible team. So it is like, seriously, probably the worst. This is honestly, I think, the worst statistics I've ever seen of a video game. This is how you play video games. And of course, let's talk about the last thing then. And of course, nothing ever makes any sense when they actually play the game. And the worst thing is just how the game is never explained how it works, right? And they have this thing where she's like being chased by this like professional team that are the second best team in the world, or whatever. And she doesn't play with the team, runs away. Their team goes after her, and then the other guys can just like take the base or something. Like the game mechanics makes no sense, right? So again, from a game developer standpoint, this game is garbage, right? And also, this really bad writing, because if then the game allows this really weird, like running past the base or kills and so on, right? If it actually is allowed, but the game sounds like utter garbage, right? The way they present the game mechanics is utter garbage. But again, if it was allowed to work like that, why would people then fall for her dumb shit? You know what I mean? As a professional player myself, right? Esports player, whatever you call it, I would never go for that. I would never chase after someone, right, for 10 minutes. Like, my base died? You know, yeah. That's not happening on a professional, you know, esport level. That's happening on like a bronze level, right? So that's also a huge issue with the movie, that all her strategies are like effing bronze level, okay? Wood League, you know? They play freaking Wood Bronze League strategies. And yet these like professional teams that are the best teams in the world, or at least in the country, fall for it. It doesn't make any sense, right? That's completely garbage. Again, obviously written by someone that's never actually played a game, or at least not on a high level, right? Because it's so garbage. And it's not like she does this intriguing, intelligent plans no one could see coming. No, she's like, oh, they're coming after me. Okay, I'm just gonna run for like 10 minutes in a circle, you know. I'm gonna run in a circle for 10 minutes. And the guys are like, get her, you know, and they do this thing, like, basically, for 10 minutes. I'm not even joking. They seriously win one game by them just the whole team running after her, and then her team just kill the base. Like, seriously, yeah. And that's, sure, that happens in League or Dota or whatever, right? But that's like a bronze shit, yeah. That would not happen in a professional game, man. In a professional game, the team has to be like, go back to the base, recall, defend the Nexus right there. That wouldn't happen in a real game. But this is basically how they win the game. So, yeah, she's chased by like a whole enemy team, right? And then her teammates just destroy the Nexus, basically. Like, that, seriously. Like, the team will happen, and this is supposed to be, again, like the top best players in the world, or at least the country, like in America, yeah. That would never ever happen, right? That's like, again, incredibly bad players. So, terrible writing. However, the worst thing, except the general lack of actual like good game mechanics and so on, is how they are acting next to each other when playing the game, right? So, so they have these scenes which are so unbelievably bad. Like seriously, this is the worst gamer movie ever on this point, especially. So when she dies, right? She's just like, yeah, I died, right? And her teammate next to her here is like getting angry. She's like, oh, you idiot, you know, you got ganked again because you're a terrible team player, and so on, right? So they're having like an argument. They're going like, hey, you idiot, this thing, and like they're actually having like an actual argument, you know? Because any girl do this, yeah, they're having like arguments. They're talking and they're arguing and fighting instead of playing the game. Imagine that, and this is just how incredibly bad this movie is, right? Because of course teammates could argue, right? After the game, right? Yeah. After the game ends, right? So I'm up and say, you idiot! You know, so you goddamn idiot! They're screaming at them. But if you actually ever watch, right, professional team playing like League or Dota or whatever, right? You think you're gonna look away from the screen? No. You're gonna be like, you're an idiot! But I'm gonna effing kill them without you, you know? You would keep playing the game. You wouldn't like, yeah, you died over there, but like, I got you to do here, right? Yeah. People wouldn't stop looking at the screen, right? Like, not the professional players, but just like if you play these games a lot, right? Whatever game it is, right? You are very focused on playing this game and winning, right? For example, you play, say League of Legends, right? You play a, you know, a team game is 5 against 5. You never play the game, you have, you know, 5 heroes and fighting so on, right? And I have my lane, so I'm top lane, right? You know, I'm like a set top lane pro, right? You know, my best character set, right? Yeah. So I play set top lane, right? If my teammate in the middle dies, I say I have R in the middle. This like cute fox girl, she dies, right? It's a wife, right? She dies. I'm not gonna be like, oh shit, man, I'm just gonna like throw away my mouse and be like, oh, whatever, you know. No, I'm gonna be like, okay, you're an idiot, but I'm gonna keep playing my game, and I'm gonna focus here. Okay, my ally died, yeah, you're an idiot, you know. I'm not even gonna look at my teammate. Say I have my friend here, or no, teammate at least, right? His friends be sitting here, and he dies as playing R, right? He's next to me. I'm not gonna ignore him, right? That's my point. I'm gonna ignore this guy that dies, right? Of course, I'm gonna maybe say, oh, you died, but okay, I got the top lane, I'm gonna gank. Okay, but I'm gonna gank, let's give me 3 minutes, I come and gank, you know. You're gonna be focused, right, wherever you're playing, right? You're not gonna care in that sense to like drop your computer, throw away your keyboard and be like, I'm just angry now. I mean, of course, as you see one scene with the weird fast girl, she like eats her keyboard or whatever. That happens, but it's after the game. They lost the game, right? They lost the game, she's like sitting there eating her keyboard. I mean, seriously, it's a garbage character, but yeah. That I can buy, right? I can buy that this incredibly dislikable weird character is eating her keyboard after she lost the game. That's fine. Imagine, right, playing a serious, you know, money game and your teammate dies in like whatever then, Dota, whatever, right? And you're like, no, he's not eating your keyboard, but your game is still on. You know what I mean? No one would ever do that, right? And the concept in this movie, we have this weird scene, it's gonna be dramatic, right? So every time they die, they have like a conversation. They're like, oh, I died. Oh, I also died. And they sit there and talk to each other for like 3-4 minutes. Like, oh, you avenge me. I will, girl. I'm getting you back, girl. Oh, you better win for me. Oh, I will, you idiot. And they keep having this shit for like several minutes. I'm not even making it up. They have like several scenes where they discuss them dying during the game, right? Which of course, not only is this really stupid because again, people will focus on playing the game, right? But they obviously will lost the game immediately, right? You know what I mean, if you play any of these games, right? StarCraft, League, whatever, Street Fighter, even more a fighting game, Guilty Gear, right? And if I play, you know, Guilty Gear, right? And it's a single player game, but sure, but give a point. If I play Guilty Gear and I drop my controller, like I get angry, so I'm like, screw it, you know, I throw away my stick, right? Because he hit me or something, right? What would happen? Well, obviously, my enemy is gonna kill my character because he's not the controller. He's gonna combo me to death, right? You know, if I'm just like, I'm not playing anymore, right? I'm sitting there being angry. He's gonna win the game because I'm sitting there, you know, sulking, right? Of course, you can do that between again the rounds, but they're doing this thing during the game. Even in the final game, they have this thing. So every game they play, they do this weird dramatic discussion, right? And they have the scenes with them like throwing away the mouse or biting the keyboard or whatever. And like when the ally dies, on both sides, not only on the girls, but even the enemies too, right? The beat so yeah. That the beta guy is like, no, you killed my support. And he's like, again, he's still playing the game. He's like, damn it, you know, throw, like basically, right? Just with the keyboard. When he's still playing the game. And you know, like it doesn't make any sense, right? It's just incredibly bad portrayal of how people play video games. It's absurd. Not only on the focus level that you actually would keep playing the game even if you have dice, right? but also in the sense that by throwing away, of course, or just generally stop touching your mouse or keyboard or whatever, you obviously would lose because, and this is a huge issue I feel, right, with this, how bad it is, this movie represents gaming, right? Because if you ever play these games, you know that, well, if you stop playing the game for a few minutes, like, you know, the talk and so on, or just a few seconds, you probably die, right? You know what I mean? If you're standing on, in a mobile game, right, you're standing on your lane, and you get angry because your teammate died, right, at mid lane, so you, again, then you stop playing the game for, like, let's say, 2 seconds. Even if you're sitting there sulking by yourself, right, the enemy is gonna see that and be like, well, he's AFKing, I'm gonna get a free kill, right? So, you know what I mean? So, he's just so terrible. And it feels like the people that wrote the movie, again, never played a video game, and they were like, oh yeah, but it's probably like sport or something, that you have time to talk about, you know, oh, the next round, or yeah, like the next ball grab, now they can stand there and talk something. That's not how gaming works, man. Like, they're playing, so, and it's just so incredibly bad writing, right? Because, as I said, right, this actually could have been much better written. First of all, they never represent that they play more than 1 round, seriously. Every time in every tournament, they seem to only play best out of 1, which of course is really stupid, right? It'd probably be best out of 7 or something, right, in the final, right? Or it's probably best of 3 at least. So that's very, very stupid. They actually never seem to play an actual, like, you know, back and forth, right? With different strategy and so on, so that's terrible. But that also would open up a lot better interaction, right? Because it's a best of 5, okay? In the finals, it's best of 5. Obviously, the girls could have, you know, won the first game, right? With some surprise strategy. Then the beat us can win 2 rows, right? So 2 against 1 now. And then we could see the girls being like, you killed me, you idiot! Throws the keyboard, yeah. And then they could have fought and so on, right? And all those fighting scenes or arguments and so on between the characters, both the good and the bad characters, right? Could have, and probably should have mostly, of course, been between the rounds. They could have been like round, you know, between 1 and 1, between 2 and 2, whatever, yeah. If those scenes took place there, I would be like, well, at least it makes like sense that they're arguing and they're fighting and you never trust me and so on, you know what I mean? But they're doing this during the game, right? During the actual game. Every game they play, they have this argument, they're fighting and so on. Like they're fighting in IRL during playing the games, yeah, like they're dropping the keyboard. And one thing you see incredibly often is that the girls, they look away from the computer, yeah. They play the game, right? And I like die here. They're like, oh, come on, girl! Like, what are you doing over there? How could you die? Oh, I hate you. They do this stuff like all the time in the movie. You're like, but you're clearly gonna die if you like, I hate you, you freaking bitch. You're like see, they do it all the time, and obviously they would have lost the game immediately, right? As soon as they stopped, yeah. And it's so bad. And also, all the games, most of the games in tournaments, right, are taking place, of course, IRL, right, where they're playing each other, so that the other teams would have seen that, right? Because if you play online, you don't know that, you can figure out that the person is raging and drop the keyboard or whatever, right? But they can literally see it. They sit next to them, and it's like, why did she drop it? Why is she standing up for you, know? Why is she throwing a keyboard behind them? You know what I mean? They would know, it's like, wait, did she leave her computer? How can't you stay alive over there? Yeah, like, I mean, it's just so bad. So, whatever, it is literally the worst video game we've ever seen, and I think it's important to really point out that it's so bad how it represents how you actually play a video game, right? Like, it's the worst, dumbest thing ever. And I've seen a lot of this, you know, 8-bit kind of thing, and Nintendo game stuff and so on, and they're much. But yeah, if you like the movie, but yes, if you like the review, please, you know, leave a comment below, subscribe, and so on, right? If you want to see more gaming stuff, obviously, you know, I do gaming stuff every now and then, right? Made and Abyss coming soon and so on. But, you know, if people are more interested in seeing more, like, you know, I've been thinking a little bit doing maybe more discussing, you know, working in the game industry and so on, right? So leave a comment if you're interested in that. But seriously though, I wanted to summarize here again. It's a long review, I want to summarize again here. This movie seriously makes female gamers like idiots. It really does. And I really mean it, right? I don't say that just to be like anti-woke or, you know, anti-feminism or whatever. No. I think this movie represents, right, the female gamers terribly, right? Yeah, it's an incredibly terrible, because it is so cringe. It's supposed to be a comedy, and no, you know, Anita Sarkassian or whatever, right? They probably dislike the movie because they didn't get paid to be in the movie or whatever, or something in the movie. But still, though, this movie is seriously bad, you know, a bad view of female gaming, because most, you know, female gamers, right, or trans gamers or whatever, you know what I mean, non-binary, whatever, right? All this ever.T, so most of them are still used, you know, regular folks, right? You know, most, like, you know, most, for example, trans people play video games, right? It's just like, okay, she got a dick, but whatever. She plays a game, you know what I mean? She plays the game, right? She's a normal person that happens to have, you know, boobs and a dick, whatever, and she plays games. That's kind of how most people are, right? You know, or she has, you know, whatever. You get my point. But this game, this movie is like, oh, but if you're like a trans person and you play video games, you have to be you have to be an idiot, you know what I mean? Or you're a girl that play games, or you're definitely fat and attractive and a sociopath. Like this is seriously how the whole movie represents basically every female character. Like every female character is, you know, obnoxious, ugly, both on the inside and outside, right? Because for example, like the streamer girl in the wheelchair, probably the most like non-crazy person in the movie from the gamer standpoint, right? But even she, when her friends are fighting, she's like, "Can I please stream this? Oh my god, it's great for my TikTok videos. Please fight," and throw stuff at her. So even she's like a freaking, you know, chill. Oh please, I wanna like, you know, market my friends arguing and make money on my friends fighting each other. Yeah, please throw a pizza in her face. Great for my TikTok, you know. So even she is like a douche, right? That is like, how can I monetize my friends and family fighting or whatever, right? That's a pretty bad person, right? Or very, very, very opportunistic, I guess. It's pretty terrible. Like I said earlier, Ruby Rose is probably like the only person that feels like a normal person on the woman's side. Yeah, she's like a mom, she's like a single mom, I guess. You know, lives with her son, works like a game teacher. Yeah, like she comes off as like a normal person, and she's like kind of mostly is annoyed at them. She's like, "We freaking calm down, woman. Yeah, like stop being so angry." And she's like, "Your home invasion." So honestly, Ruby Rose's character is like again the only female character that feels like an actual likable person and like somewhat of a normal person, right? And honestly, I felt it was really bad that Ruby Rose had this line that she stopped working in the game industry because she got doxxed and harassed and so on, right? And that should have been more. The girl get harassed, and but it mostly played off as like a, you know, joke that the fatso girl has dropped a bomb or something at the cops, right? Because the cops get disgusted by her smell, right? Yeah, they basically, honestly, take doxing and it makes it into like a shit joke. Yeah, it is so bad. It's so bad. But seriously though, Ruby Rose had a character backstory there, right? By being harassed out of the industry and doxed and threatened and so on, right? That could have been like an arc there. That could have been a little arc how she's like, maybe I should go back and being a developer because times have changed or something, right? And I'm not gonna be afraid of people bullying me or something, right? Like seriously, that I was hoping at least they were gonna give Ruby Rose's character like a little bit of like a development. And I'm not saying that it would be the best thing ever, but she's like, I think it would be interesting if she was like, I have a new game development idea or something. Do you guys want to work on this game with me or something, right? You know, like I mean, because she's like, I'm not gonna let the trolls ruin my life or something, right? Because she clearly, you know, kind of was the professor because she was like afraid of being harassed if she kept making video games, right? So, but that was never like resolved really. She was like, I hate doxing. Of course I hate doxing. I agree, of course. And she was like, yeah, I can't do what I want anymore. She was just like a victim, right? And I mean, to be fair, that might be unfortunately reality, right, for some people, seriously, right? Which is really sad. But I mean, like, wouldn't that be a better message? The Ruby Rose is like, I'm gonna show them, you know, I'm gonna fight their bullies or whatever. I don't know. I think it's weird how it was. Like, she talked about it like a few times, but it never really like paid off or something, right? Something like that. But I want to say the thing again here, lastly, again though, the movie also is really strange, right? Because the main character isn't there to like be a game player. She's there to be a developer. Like, it's a really terrible movie, right? Because in that sense too, right? As I mentioned earlier, she actually goes to Ruby Rose's class, right? To be like a game developer. Of course, they never even once mention what she wants to do, right? Because when I say game developer, it is a different thing than developer. So let me explain very briefly. So we talk about development, right? In IT, you say developer, that means coding, right? But when you say game developer, that actually means any kind of discipline in gaming. And then you say game programmer usually to define you're talking about programming. Honestly, this is kind of confusing, but yeah, because I heard a lot of people over the years say game developer, and there might be an artist or a QA or whatever. They just call it game developer, where if you say developer in like a bank or something, you mean the coder. So it is actually quite different. It's probably because, you know, game studios has a lot of more shitty jobs. That's the QA, which is always shittier. So a lot of people are, oh, I'm a game developer because it sounds better than saying I'm a game QA, right?
That's probably why. But if you work like a bank or something and you say developer, people are like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm the software architect. Yeah, it means it's a little more like that. That's probably why. But anyway, they never explain, you know, what kind of game developer she wants to be, right? And she never goes to class again, and it's never focused on that, even though isn't she playing the tournament to, like, you know, keep having her scholarship so she can get her bachelor degree in, like, game development in something, like code or something. Yeah, so it's never really explained at all, and I think that obviously the movie could be better too, right? If the movie focused on her not only playing this game, but also being like, I need to study for my exams. You know what I mean? They also have exams, right? And maybe she could have been a very good, you know, I don't know, coder, right? And said, oh, I have this script here that automates my healing or something, right? Maybe she could have, you know, shown off some better, so to speak, you know, game development skills, right? Like a really good script to play the game for or something. And that could have been a way she could have beaten the guys or whatever, right? Or something like that. Or at least have some other, like, skills of her development. But it was never really explained. Of course, that being said, though, all the other guys, the evil guys are supposed to also be, like, I guess, in game development school. So they also probably can code and so on. But it was very strange how it was never really even addressed that she actually goes to college to get a degree, right, in something, and she never mentioned it again, ever again. After Ruby Rose class, it's never mentioned. They never go to any class. They never talk about what she actually wants to do because. But I'm just pointing out here, right? But honestly, right, I met a lot of people, myself included, right, that has been playing esport games and tournaments and so on, right? But most people, right, you meet in these kind of schools, for example, myself, but my class and so on, with a similar, backstory of like, oh, I play a lot of games and I'm top ranked in this game, whatever, right? You don't want to be a gamer. No. And what I mean with that is that, no, if you go to college, right, like she does, almost everyone wants to actually be a developer, right? You go to college, and like all my classmates, me included, so on, as I mentioned, right? Yes, most of us were good at games, right? For example, say StarCraft, right? Whatever. And we actually had a lot of StarCraft 2 tournaments at my university, so on. The game was released from our university. So we had a lot of different StarCraft 2 tournaments, so on. And most people were very good, right? Much, much better than the average, casual people, so to speak, outside, right? But that being said, right, everyone basically dreams to work at Blizzard, right, or Civil, right? You dream to develop this game. That's why you're in school. You're in that kind of school, right, to get a bachelor degree or master degree whatever in, programming or art or whatever, right? So you can, of course, make these games, right? Whereas it would be in school. So it was very, very weird that the whole storyline is about her beating these guys so she can stay in school, but she never ever mentioned her actual dream. She never mentioned what is the game she wants to make, right? Oh, I want to make a strategy game. My dream is to make this, like, feminist strategy game. I don't know, but actually, like, we have this old Law and Order episode of GamerGate, right? And at least the female character in that Law and Order episode, she has a dream to make a better Civ game, right? That is like feminism and so on, and woke or whatever, right? She has a dream to make like a pro-feminism game. At least that makes sense, honestly, right? Yeah, at least that makes sense. That female character that they harassed so on and doxed or whatever in that GamerGate, Law and Order episode. At least that female character had like a vision and a dream how she wanted to improve the world, right? And that's why they really hated her, right? So that woman makes a lot more sense from like a narrative structure of why she do this thing. Like, this woman here, they kind of forgot to give her a backstory. Yeah, she's like, I'm here in school to be a developer of something. Yeah, but she doesn't even have like a line where she's like, I always loved, Street Fighter. I want to make my own fighting game where, the character are well balanced and there's no big tits or whatever. Yeah, like it's never explained. Even though the movie starts with Ruby Rose discussing, right, the sexism in video games, right? And she agrees, like, yeah, you're right, Ruby Rose, you're right. The girls should have smaller oppas, shrink the oppas or whatever. Yeah, she agreed to that, but then it's never ever addressed again. What games she actually wants to make, right? And me as a game developer, and also of course being at game school, even though I actually didn't study game development, I studied, no, I didn't study game development. Honestly, I didn't. Right? I studied like engineering, which you can also use to make games, right, so to speak, mostly. But anyway, get my point. I studied there. A lot of my classmates were also, of course, nerds or whatever, right? And everyone has the dream and vision of what games you want to make, right? Oh, I love role-playing games. I want to make, Final Fantasy or whatever. That's kind of people talk, right? These characters are very unrealistic because they go to school, but yet none of them actually have their own, like, game in mind, right? I know there might be another movie, but my point. It doesn't make any sense that they never, ever even address, like, what is their favorite children's game or whatever. What game do they love growing up in, and why do they actually want to go to school, right? There's a complete lack of an actual journey with the characters. So that also makes the movie insanely bad. But I read it a long time enough now. But hope you guys liked it. But yeah, hope you liked the video, guys. I don't want to talk about that, but it is the worst movie ever. And seriously, it is also anti-woke. It is such a weird movie. Yeah, like the characters are written as, you know, obnoxious douchebags, all of them, and it hates on women. It hates on women. All the guys are obnoxious trolls and everything. Everyone's is likable. I actually did like Ruby Rose's character. Yeah. Ruby Rose's character and the principal. Those characters were pretty good. But just the Ruby Rose, that she's like a good coach, doesn't make any sense though. But she at least was like actually pretty funny and pretty had some good lines on one. Seriously. Like, yeah, like Ruby Rose was by far the best actress in the movie. By far. It's really weird. But anyway, guys, subscribe. See you guys and have a great day.